Hello, everybody. This is Vince Russo from the Realm Network and Podcast One, and I am here along with my co-host, Jeff Lane, and we are doing this free YouTube video for you. And we wanted to be timely with this video, so I wanted to do it, basically while the matter was at hand. A couple of days ago, I believe it was Friday, there was a show, a very popular show, on the internet, hosted by Bruce Prichard, who I used to work with at WWE, and I do consider a friend, and Conrad Thompson. They have a very popular show, and I was the topic of their discussion this past week. It was a 3-hour discussion where basically they used my book Forgiven as a premise, and they went through my book. And they talked about what they thought were some inconsistencies. What they even called some of them being blatant lies. Now, let me first say this. There's a couple of things I got to put in its proper perspective. How you doing, Jeff?
Doing good. How you doing?
All right. Jeff, I want to put a couple of things in its proper perspective, and I've said these things in the past, okay? I wrote 2 books. My first one was Forgiven. The second book was How WCW Killed Vince Russo. As a writer, Jeff, I always wanted to write a book. It was my goal in life. So I took the writing of both books very seriously, bro. Both books took me about a year to write. Now, I want to say this, bro. If anybody honestly thinks that I took a year of my life and dedicated a year of my life to a book and sat down and wrote lies, I don't know what other word to use, Jeff, but that's disgusting to me. My whole life, my dream was to write a book. And again, I spent a year on Forgiven. And to think I sat at a desk every single day and just conscrewed lies in my head is absolutely disgusting to me. Is that understandable to you, Jeff?
Makes sense to me. I mean, I don't know why anybody would do that, not just you.
Right. Now, here's the second thing, Jeff, because there's an elephant in the room that nobody wants to bring up, but I have to bring it up, Jeff. And here's the elephant in the room. Keep in mind, when I wrote Forgiven, bro, I was less than 2 years removed from leaving the WWE. Bro, like, I know I started writing this book sometime in around 2000. And I stopped working for the WWE in October of 1999. So when I wrote this book, bro, it was less than a year after the fact. So my point is, Jeff, my memory was very vivid of the circumstances that took place. Now, bro, I have to say this, and I'm not saying this to be mean-spirited. I'm saying this because these are things that have to be taken into consideration, okay? I wrote this book a year after the events happened. Bruce Prichard is commenting on this book about 16 or 17 years after I wrote it. Now, bro, I'm going to say this. And I'm going to say this because this is part of the equation. Bruce Prichard has been in the wrestling business for a very long time. And, bro, let me tell you something. Pills and alcohol are a big part of the wrestling business. And, bro, pills and alcohol were a big part of Bruce Prichard's life. And I don't even think Bruce would deny saying that. As a matter of fact, bro, when him and Conrad were doing this very show, they were drinking. My point is, Bruce is going off of a recollection from 17 years ago when throughout his entire life, bro, he has abused pills, he has abused alcohol, and I don't know how he could possibly believe that he's got this sharp memory and his word is gospel. Here's what I related to, Jeff, and maybe this will put it in its proper perspective. I'm a Kiss fan. All 4 members of Kiss wrote a book. Okay, bro? All 4 of them. They all wrote their story, and they all had a different perspective. Now, bro, if you know Kiss, if you're a Kiss fan, you know Peter Criss and Ace Frehley battled pills and alcohol their entire life. And you know, on the other side of the coin, Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons never took drugs, never drank. So, Jeff, when I'm sitting down and I'm reading all 4 books and I'm reading all 4 of the members, all their accounts of what happened in the history of the band, I'm taking into account, okay, Peter, okay, Ace, how can you recall that when you were a known drug user and alcoholic? How can you possibly remember details from 15, 20 years ago? Now, when I read Gene and Paul's book, bro, there were a lot of similarities to the stories because at least these guys were straight the last 20 years. So my point is, bro, Vince Russo, not only did I write Forgiven a year after it happened, I don't take pills. Bro, I've been drunk 1 time in my life in college. 1 time. I don't take pills. I don't drink. So again, bro, when you're looking at Bruce talking about this book, it's almost 17 years after the fact, and he's had a life full of pills and alcohol. And bro, you could do all the research you want. Pills and alcohol are going to alter your memory. That's why I'm not going to sit here and say Bruce Prichard is a liar, because Bruce probably believes a lot of the things that he said. So, and that's why. But here's the deal, bro. Like, Jeff, I said this to you. This is the part that bothers me more than anything. Honestly, bro, I don't care what Bruce's recollection is, because like I said, bro, I know I wrote this book when it happened. I'm not reflecting on it 17 years later. And I also know, bro, that I haven't been taking pills and alcohol for the last 17 years. So I don't care what Bruce's recall of my book is. Here's what bothers me, Jeff. People believe what he's saying. People that don't know Bruce Prichard and don't know Bruce's past history of abuse, and people that just want to take his word for granted because they don't like Vince Russo. So I owe it, bro, to our brand, the people that follow us, to address every discrepancy those guys have on the show. And let me say this, Jeff. They've both been invited to the show. Conrad has accepted. Conrad told me he will do it sometime on Thursday. He said he's trying to get Bruce to do it. As of now, I have sent Bruce 2 DMs and he's not answered me. I just hope, bro, Bruce doesn't take the same path as Jim Cornette and Eric Bischoff, where he's going to say things about me. And one of them I take great offense to is when I'm called a bald-faced liar, when he's going to say things to me, but not say them to my face. I'm going to have an issue with that. So that's where we stand. Later this week, I should be having a show with Conrad. I hope Bruce joins us. He's been invited. The jury is still out whether he's going to come on the show or not. Now, I asked Jeff to listen to the show. I didn't listen to the show because I know it'll piss me off, and I don't want to get pissed off. So I asked Jeff to listen to the show because Jeff probably knows me better than anybody. And I said, Jeff, listen to the show. Take notes of certain things that you think our brand would want me to address concerning some of the discrepancies of your book, according to Bruce Prichard, 17 years after the fact. So, Jeff, you did indeed listen to the entire show, correct?
Yes, I did. Listen to the whole thing.
Okay. First of all, Jeff, before you get into the specifics, what was your overall take of the show? What did you walk away with?
Well, the thing that I liked about it was that they actually used your words. You know what I mean? Okay. They used your words straight from the book, and then, you know, Conrad read your book, then went to Bruce for his opinion. So there wasn't, I heard this, I heard that. They went with your words. So that was the good. Bruce put over, he thought you were creative. He put over several things about you. But in my opinion, and again, this is just my opinion, I don't know Bruce, I've never met him. But he even said on the show he had never read this book. So he was hearing these things for the first time. And you had said a lot of, like, mean things about Bruce in the book. Not a lot, but there were a few mean things based on, you know, what you wrote at that time 17 years ago or whatever. And when Conrad read them to him, it was like he was hearing them for the first time. And I think that affected him, and I think he was upset by that, but that's just my opinion.
And I can totally understand that, bro, because people have hit me with certain things that have upset me. But again, bro, like, understand the context of the book. I wrote it 17 years ago. You know, bro, Vince Russo today is not the same guy he was 17 years ago. And, bro, I'm going to say it. The things I wrote about Bruce Prichard in this book, I felt, and I believe, bro, I don't take back one word in this book. And, bro, if this book were a Bible, I would put my hand on it and swear on my entire family that every word I put in this book was truth. You know, this was my story. This was my baby. So that's why, like I said, bro, Bruce and Conrad have been invited on the show. I'll be happy, you know, to discuss anything with them. But I didn't want to wait till Thursday, bro, because for our brand and for our followers that may have any questions, I wanted to address the issues now. So, Jeff, go ahead. I mean, anything that you jotted down, any questions they had about the book, Vince said that. I mean, shoot, bro, let's just go with it.
Well, one of the things that is constantly brought up about you, you've addressed this before. The rumor is Vince Russo stole from ECW. Stole ideas from ECW, whatever they say, the attitude, whatever it is, you stole from ECW. So that was brought up on the show. And Bruce said that it's untrue that you didn't steal ideas, that you constantly quoted ECW and their talent.
Okay, well, see, that's, you know, again, see, bro, this is like, this is kind of taking my words and reading into them the way you want. Okay. And Jeff, I've said all this in the past, so none of this is going to be news. I did not steal ideas from ECW. And bro, let's get back to it. Bruce, unless you're going to specifically lay out an idea that I stole, you have no credibility. It's a blanket statement. Vince stole ideas from ECW. Okay, bro, what ideas did I steal from them? Here's the deal, bro. And maybe this is what Bruce is trying to say. I don't know. I didn't steal any ideas from ECW, Jeff. I wasn't inspired by ECW creative. Now, I've said I was inspired by the NWO creative. That inspired me. I was not inspired by ECW creative. Now, Jeff, what did I put over from ECW? Of course, some of their talent.
Right.
I loved some of the talent on the show. I loved what Al Snow was doing with the heads on the show. So I wanted to use Al Snow. I loved Bubba. Bubba was doing the stuttering gimmick. I loved the Dudleys, so I wanted to get the Dudleys on the show. I was a huge fan of Stevie Richards. I wanted to bring Stevie Richards over to the show. So yes, bro, I absolutely loved some of the ECW talent, and I was instrumental in bringing some of them to the WWE. But as far as their ideas, bro, there wasn't one creative storyline that I watched for a long period of time, or that I was into, or that I stole. So, again, bro, Bruce falls into this trap that everybody else falls into. It's the blanket statement. Vince stole ideas from ECW. Okay, Bruce, what ideas did I steal? Name one idea that I stole from ECW. Did I steal talent? Well, technically not, bro, because we had a working relationship with ECW. So if we wanted one of their talents, Vince was supposed to go to Paul Heyman and say, we're interested in so-and-so, and then so-and-so was supposed to come over to our show, and we were going to send them talent we weren't using. So if Bruce wants to say, I stole ECW talent, there's a little bit more credibility to that. But to say I stole ideas from ECW and then not discuss what ideas, Bruce, what idea did I steal from ECW? So that explains that. And like I said, bro, why wouldn't I say I was inspired and I took ideas from ECW when I say all the time the NWO inspired me? When I saw what the NWO was doing on WCW, that's what I knew WWE needed to be doing. So I've said that about WCW. I don't understand. If I felt the same way about ECW, why wouldn't I just say that? That's what I mean, bro. That makes no sense. I'm going to put over WCW, but not put over ECW. Do you have any further questions, Jeff? Just ask, and I'll be happy.
Well, let's move on to the next one, because this was a big, a big thing that they talked about, and a lot of people have been talking about since. The D-Generation X invading WCW. They had read something in the book about, you coming up with it and stuff. And Bruce had said that it was false that you wrote that. All that stuff was done on the fly that he produced, and it was nothing written by Vince.
Jeff, I haven't gone back and read my book because I'm not going to. Like, I know the stories in the book. Okay. I've said, bro, I'm going to debunk this real easily. Like, this is a no-brainer. Like, anybody that has like the mentality of a hummingbird, I'm going to debunk this immediately. I remember saying vividly in my book that when I was sitting down writing that script, I specifically wrote DX drives up to WCW building driving a rocket launcher. And I remember saying I specifically wrote that because Kevin Dunn, head of production at WWE, used to be able to get anything that we asked for, bro. It was unbelievable. Whatever I wrote, he was able to get. So as I'm sitting down thinking this thing out, I said, you know what? I'm going to write this for shits or giggles, because there's no way Kevin Dunn's going to ever be able to get to a rocket launcher. So I wrote, DX drives a rocket launcher up to the WCW building. Okay, bro. So now we get to the building that day. Jeff, I have already said Bruce produced all of the DX skits. I did not. I was busy doing other things. And again, for those people that love to repeat the dirt sheet marks that I take credit for everything, I've said a million times, Bruce produced every one of those vignettes. And bro, yes, he probably produced them on the fly. Hunter, you're going to say this. Road Dogg, you're going to say this. This one, you're going to say this. This one, you're going to say this. But let me debunk this real easy, Jeff. If I didn't write it out, how the hell was a rocket launcher there, bro? Did Bruce Prichard get a rocket launcher on the fly? The rocket launcher was there because that's what I wrote in the script. So the fact that he says it wasn't my idea, I didn't write any of it, they did it all on the fly, where the frig did a rocket launcher come from? Do you understand? I mean, that's what I mean, bro. I'm sitting here willing to give Bruce, you did all those vignettes. I did not. You did them all. And I'm sure you did produce the guys on the fly. But, bro, there's not going to be a rocket launcher there unless I wrote that in the script. And that's exactly what I say in my book, bro. So like that's a freaking no-brainer. Well, I mean, is Bruce trying to say, bro, the show was a Monday and we drove into that town on a Monday and we found a rocket launcher? Like, is it like literally, is that what he's trying to say? No, bro. Kevin Dunn had the script the week before, and as soon as he got the script, he started looking for the rocket launcher, and he got one. That's what I mean, bro. I have no problem giving other people credit, but for God's sake, bro, a rocket launcher did not magically appear.
This was a quote from WWE.com, which it's strange to me because they seem to do a lot of creative rewriting when it comes to you. But this was about this skit, and Triple H said, nobody knew, just me, Mr. McMahon, and Russo. X-Pac and the Outlaws came up to me and they said, there's a bunch of military stuff outside, like a tank. Is that for us? What are we doing? I said, I can't tell you yet, but it's going to be awesome. Trust me. Bruce had said on the show that this idea originally came up in a production meeting or something. Somebody else brought this up. Which are either of these statements accurate? You know, from what you remember, or
what about him coming up with it in a production meeting?
I don't think he said he did. Yeah. I don't believe he said he did, but somebody else did in a production meeting.
Bro, listen, anybody listening to this, put two and two together. Triple H just said they showed up and there was all types of military equipment there. That stuff did not magically appear the day of. Somebody had to write it. And that I was the freaking writer. And no, bro, I'm not taking credit for it. I didn't produce it, but I wrote the freaking script. Yes, bro, I was the head writer. I'm going to take credit for my script. There was nobody else writing the script but me, for crying out loud. Bro, I don't recall Bruce or anybody else pitching that at a production meeting or coming up with the idea. Could somebody have come up with the idea, DX invades WCW? Of course, bro. Of course, somebody could have thrown that idea. I don't remember that. All I remember is what I wrote on the paper and getting all that stuff there. That's what I remember. And again, Triple H is saying, I got to the building, there was all this military equipment. If this was done on the fly, why would all this military equipment have been there? It's that simple, bro. Like, honestly, come on, man.
As far as The Rock, they read your excerpt from the book where you were talking about having the conversation with The Rock about speaking in third person. And Bruce said that was a bold-faced lie. And,
and that's the part that really upsets me, because now you're calling me a liar, bro. You see, Bruce, now you've crossed the line, and now there is an issue. But, Jeff, like you said, he said it was JR's idea, right?
Yes.
Okay. Jeff, I had Bruce Prichard on our show. How long ago was that, roughly, bro? A year and a half? I don't even know.
Yeah, it might even be almost 2 years ago. It's been a while.
Okay, now, Jeff, let me first lay this out to you. Okay, Jeff, let me lay it out to you. I wrote this book about a year after I left WWE. At least that's when I started working on it. Okay, bro? And I wrote the story. This is why I remember the details. What I said in my book was, I was thinking about Rock in the third person for a long time before I pitched it because of my love for Don the Rock Morocco. I didn't want to disrespect Don Morocco. That's why I kept it to myself. Okay? But Jeff, here's the funny thing. When I wrote, okay, so I'll get to that at the end. So I have Bruce Prichard on the show, and bro, for the very first time, and bro, this is about 2016. 2016, bro. For the very first time, I'm hearing a story. Bruce is telling me that JR came up with it. And I told Bruce on that show that day, Bruce, I never heard that story before. I said, all I know is the day that The Rock went out and did it, I had a one-on-one discussion with him prior to the start of Raw, and I pitched him that idea. Now, bro, there's a couple of things about this, Jeff. First of all, how would Bruce know what my one-on-one conversation with The Rock was? How would he have any idea in the world? Bro, I was the writer of the show, Jeff. My job was to direct and produce talent. That was my job. So when I approached Rock that day, it was like me approaching Rock any freaking TV. Here's what you're doing, Rock. Here's your promo. Here's the match. And on this particular day, I said, bro, I've been thinking about this for a while. How about this? And I pitched him the idea of the third person. I remember him looking at me in a very familiar Rock face, like he kind of, like squinted his eyes and was like, really? And I'm like, yeah, bro, just give it a shot and see what happens. Bro, that was the end of the conversation. Now, I told Bruce, am I sitting here saying, oh, no, bro, Jim Ross is a bold-faced liar? Bro, I don't know what conversations Jim Ross had with The Rock. And, bro, of course he could have had a similar conversation because, Jeff, let's face it, his name was Rocky. So referring to himself as The Rock was not rocket science. So, yes, bro, Jim Ross could have came up with the very same thought that Vince Russo came up with. But, Jeff, here's the funny thing. People got to remember this, Jeff. I wrote the book. I started writing in 2000. Okay, I don't even know when the book came out, bro, but it came out like early 2000. Okay, Jeff, when I wrote the book, Rock was still an active wrestler. Rock was not a movie star. Am I going to write a blatant lie in the book about The Rock like that when anybody could have went up to The Rock and asked him? Anybody could have asked him the question, did you have this conversation with Russo prior to doing it? He was still an active wrestler. He wasn't the movie star he is today. So you mean to tell me I'm going to blatantly lie about that story, make up that story when anybody could have went up to The Rock and asked him? And bro, this is what I get so upset about, Jeff. I get so upset about these freaking assholes. And let me tell you something. Bruce fed it and Conrad fed it about the narrative of Vince Russo takes credit for everything and doesn't give anybody any credit. Bro, let me start with the laundry list of who got credit for what. I've always given Bruce credit for the DX vignettes. I was not there. I've given Bruce credit for Kane. That Kane character was all his freaking idea. I give Austin credit. He came up with Austin 316. He pitched me the promo, bro. He came up with a can of whoop ass. He came up with all his stuff. Bro, The Rock came up with the people's elbow. If you smell what The Rock cooking. I didn't come up with any of that stuff. Jeff, I told you. The creative department at WWE came up with the Generation X. They came up with that phrase, and I saw that phrase for a pay-per-view, and I said that would be a great name for the group. I've said that a million freaking times. Jeff, one of the best vignettes at the WWE that I loved was Mick in the hospital with Vince when he introduced Mr. Sacco. I was not there. I was not present for it. I wish I would have came up with Mr. Sacco. I remember Mick coming back and telling me what they did and giving the idea to Al Snow. I sit here at nauseum, bro, and I give the credit where the credit is due. But the minute I say I pitched the idea to Rock in a one-on-one conversation. He's a bold-faced liar. I'm so sick of that shit, bro. Am I really going to say that when at that time anybody could have went up to The Rock and asked him if it were true or not? Bro, Jim Ross and I had the same freaking idea. I'm not calling Jim Ross a liar. I believe what Bruce said. I'm sure The Rock and Jim Ross maybe had a conversation. I knew nothing about that until Bruce told me a year ago. And anybody can go look at that Bruce Prichard interview and see how off guard I am when I said to Bruce, I've never heard that story before. All I know is I approached them. I'm telling you exactly now what I said to Bruce. But that's what I mean, bro. I give Vince credit for how many times do I say the New Age Outlaws? That was all Vince McMahon. I didn't see it. I swear to God, bro, I think I give more credit than anybody in the business. But the minute I say, oh, yeah, I had a one-on-one conversation with The Rock, and this is what I said, I'm a bald-faced liar. I'm just, bro, I'm so sick of that narrative, bro. It's getting to the point make me want to throw up on people.
Conrad had asked him what he thought your worst idea was. I don't know if that was the exact language he used, but obviously this is opinion. He's entitled to it. He said the brawl for all, and he said the list goes on and on of bad ideas, and I believe he named like the oddities and beaver cleavage. To be fair, he also said we all have bad ideas. But the thing that I took out of this that was interesting that I wanted to ask you about is he said the brawl for all ended a lot of careers.
No, what's
your take on that?
First of all, Jeff, I have gone on the record. I've already said this. And I said, when I introduced the Brawl for All, I didn't realize that as a shoot, or not I didn't realize, I didn't think it through that as a shoot, guys could really get hurt. I didn't think that through. Bro, outside of Dr. Death Steve Williams, who did wrestle after that, but what was seriously hurt, I don't know of any other career that it ended. So okay, bro, I've already said that about the Brawl for All. I didn't take into consideration the injuries. And because of that, it was a bad idea. So Bruce names two others. First of all, let me say for the record, okay, bro, the Parade of Human Oddities, that was a Vince McMahon idea. So, Bruce, you better retract that because I know you want to work for Vince again and you want to work for the WWE. That was Vince's idea, bro. You don't want to publicly say that Vince had a bad idea. So you might want to retract that. Beaver cleavage was all my idea, 1,000%. I thought it was a great idea. I still stand behind the idea. And people got afraid of it because of potentially where we wanted to go. And Jeff, here's the thing. I'm not going to sit here and go through all Bruce's bad ideas and his character. I'm not even going to do that. I have no reason to discredit Bruce Prichard. Jeff, I have said Bruce Prichard was the greatest producer I ever worked with. Bruce Prichard is the greatest storyteller in the history of the wrestling business. Bruce Prichard has had an unbelievable career in wrestling. Bruce Prichard has a #1 podcast now that he's doing really well. I have no reason in the world to discredit anything that Bruce Prichard did, so I'm not going to. All I'm doing is I'm addressing the charges against me because, bro, when you call me a bold-faced liar, when I'm having a one-on-one conversation with somebody and you can't possibly know what was said, then we've got an issue.
They had read a quote about the Survivor Series, the Montreal Screwjob, and you had said in your book about sitting in front of a monitor with The Undertaker, and they read that whole quote, and Bruce has said, this is another lie. Vince was not at the gorilla position. I was the only one there. So do you want to clarify that?
Yeah, go back and read my book. I never said I was at the gorilla position. I said I was watching it on a monitor in the back sitting next to The Undertaker. For a lot of you guys that don't know, backstage at wrestling, they have like a monitor where and seats where all the boys can watch. The gorilla position is right behind the curtain. So, you know, the director, you know, and Bruce used to do that job. You know, sends the guys out, tells them when to hit the music, does all that. It's right on the other side of the curtain. In my book, I never said I was at the gorilla position. I said I was watching the match in the back on a monitor sitting next to Taker. So I don't know who was at the gorilla position. I wasn't there. I never said I was at the gorilla position.
They also continue on about the Survivor Series, and they read the part, and you've told this story on our show numerous times, about how after Brett had punched Vince McMahon, they wanted to sweep it under the rug, not address it, and you said that you jumped in and said, "What are you guys, nuts?" or whatever your exact words were. "This is money. We need to use this on TV." Whatever, you know, your exact wording in the book, and you can address that. But Bruce had said that that was Vince McMahon's idea to address Brett on TV.
Well, see, again, bro, I talked about, you know, I talked about what happened, and I talked about everybody wanting to sweep it under the rug like it never happened. And my exact words in the book are you nuts? We got to keep this thing going. You're never going to get a story like this. We got to keep it going. And I also described in the book that I could see that Vince was hearing me. Okay, bro? That's what I said in the book. Bro, the Vince McMahon didn't screw Bret Hart. Bret Hart screwed Bret Hart. That whole sit-down interview with Vince, I was not present for that. I never said that I was present for that. I never said that I produced that. I never said that I came up with Vince didn't screw Vince. Bret screwed Vince. I wasn't there at the studio, bro. So I'm sure when Vince did that, either that was Vince's idea or somebody else's idea. I've never claimed that. The only thing I claimed is when everybody wanted to sweep this under the rug, I said, you got to keep this going. This is the hottest thing we have. You got to keep it going. And that's when Vince went to the studio and cut that interview. I've never taken credit for that, bro. I wasn't there.
The topic of the filter was brought up, and Bruce said Vince McMahon was the filter. And they used several scenarios throughout the show based on what you said in the book. One of them was how, and you've talked about this before, you and Ed talked about this, about how you would bring things to Vince and he'd do his little nuances and he'd do his little tweaks and things like that. Bruce said, yes, that's being the filter. You also said how if somebody complained to Vince about a storyline, he would cave and tell you not to do it, or I don't know what the exact words were, but that it was something along those lines. Again, that's the filter. And he also said, you look at he was never able to match the success he had with Vince McMahon after he left Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon was the filter, was what Bruce said. Thoughts on
okay, that? Well, there's a couple of things there, bro. People need to understand, because a lot of people don't know Bruce Prichard. Okay, bro? Here's what people need to understand when Bruce Prichard makes a statement like that. Bruce Prichard was the writer before me when the ratings were at an all-time low. And yes, I'm going to bring it up. We're talking about Bruce Prichard was writing when it was TL Hopper, the Goon, Mantar, Chris Candido and Tammy. What was the name of that? Belladonnas? The
Body Donnas.
Body Donnas. That was all Bruce. The ratings were in the shitter. That's why Vince McMahon made a change and he brought me in. So according to Bruce's filter theory, why wasn't Vince filtering Bruce's crap? If Vince is the filter, then Vince would have filtered Bruce just like he filtered me, and the end TV product would have been great. You see, that's the problem, bro. That's where the inconsistencies lie. Bruce was the writer before me. The ratings hit an all-time low. Vince put me in that spot. If Vince were my filter and he was able to take my stuff and make it great, why didn't he do the same for Bruce Prichard? If he's going to be my filter, he's going to be Bruce's filter. And what was that last thing that you said, Jeff? Because I want to address that. Oh, I didn't have success anywhere else. Bro, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I was the head writer at TNA when we brought the audience up to over 2 million people. Okay, 250,000 people are watching TNA. So I don't know how Bruce explains that. I don't know how Bruce is at TNA now, drawing 250,000 people. So, Bruce, if I need a filter and I wasn't successful without Vince, how in the world were we up to 2 million people watching TNA when you're working at that same TNA today for an audience of 250,000? These are all facts, bro. Anybody can look up TNA's numbers. They can look up when I was writing. They can look up that the numbers were over 2 million. Okay, bro? So that's what I mean, bro. That's just talking out your ass. You know what it is, Bruce? You know what it is with these people, Jeff? They've heard the same narrative over and over and over and over. Vince Russo takes credit for everything. Vince Russo needed a filter. Vince Russo this, Vince Russo that. And then after a while, bro, it just becomes folklore. When you look at the numbers, Bruce, why were your numbers so bad that Vince put me in your spot when you had the same filter I had, bro? It doesn't make any sense.
He also, and I don't remember his exact words, so I don't want to misquote him here, but he had insinuated that he didn't get removed from the creative team, that he had to take over for J.J. Dillon because there was nobody else to do it. That's why you were brought in.
Well, you know, I've said that, bro. I said that. But he also wanted the job, bro. I mean, let's make that clear. He wanted that talent relations job very, very, very badly. And yeah, no, absolutely. I said that the other day. Bruce didn't get fired and Vince Russo was brought in. Bruce moved over to talent relations, and I took his spot on the creative team. That's 100% accurate.
There's a few times in the show where he said that you talk out of both sides of your mouth. And one of the examples he used was how you always say you don't take credit for things. You're not taking credit for the whole Attitude Era. But then they read a part in the book where you were upset because when the company was going public or something, there was a press release and you were nowhere to be mentioned. They mentioned all these people in the company, all the contributors, and you weren't in there. And that Vince McMahon was always doing these interviews and taking credit for everything, and that bothered you. And he says this is you talking out of both sides of your mouth.
How is it? What is Vince McMahon not giving me my just due? How does that correlate with me with me staking claim to everything? It's two totally different things, bro. Like that's him talking out of two sides of his mouth. On one side of just say that again, bro, because it confuses me.
That you're talking out of both sides of your mouth.
Because on one side, I'm saying I don't take credit for everything, but on the other side, I'm saying Vince McMahon didn't give me credit.
Correct.
That's two different things, bro. That's two different things. Yeah, bro, I don't take credit for everything, Bruce, because if I did take credit for everything, I would say I produced those DX vignettes, Bruce. I would say, Bruce, I came up with Kane, Bruce, I came up with Austin 316. That's me taking credit for everything. That has nothing to do with Vince McMahon, going public and, putting JR over. It has nothing to do with Vince McMahon going in cigar aficionado and saying that Shane McMahon was the brains behind creative. It's two different things, bro. How the hell is that me talking out my ass?
Real quick, just a sidebar here. I feel like Conrad made a couple of incorrect assumptions about you just based on what you've said on our show, what you've told me personally. And the first one is apparently Russo's not a Shawn Michaels fan. He read the part, one of the things he read the part about Shawn getting in Austin's head about the WrestleMania 15 main event.
Bro, here's what's weird about this with Bruce and Conrad. And bro, again, let me stay for anybody watching this. They've both been invited on the show this week. Okay, bro, I'm not doing this behind their back. Okay, Conrad's accepted. Bruce, as of yet, has not. So let me make that clear. Okay, bro, Shawn Michaels has gone on record here's what I'm saying. Here's the weird part about this, bro. They're commenting on a book that I wrote some 15 years ago, like I wrote it yesterday. Bro, I wrote this book 15 years ago. Bro, I was working on this book, Jeff, before WCW went out of business. That's when I was working on this book. These guys are talking about this book like it just came out, okay? Bro, Shawn Michaels has gone on record apologizing to people he used to work with because he was a different person, because he was under the influence of chemicals, and because he was a nightmare to deal. Shawn Michaels has stated that, bro. Yes, he was a different person 15 years ago. Bro, I've talked about my ups and downs with Shawn Michaels. I've had him on the freaking show. I told Shawn Michaels, and I've publicly stated, he was the greatest performer I ever worked with. So Conrad's taking my words from freaking 15 years ago and saying, oh, I guess Vince Russo didn't really like Shawn Michaels. That's just weird, bro. Like, I mean, that's just freaking weird to me. It's 15 years freaking later. The guy has been on my show. We've had personal phone calls, bro. Shawn Michaels himself has said, I was a different person back then. I was a pain in the ass to deal with at times. That's what I talk about in the book, bro.
And the second assumption that he said was Russo is not a fan of Jim Ross.
Yeah, and bro, and I already cut a video on that. Shame on them for taking that entire Jim Ross thing out of context. They knew exactly what they were doing, bro, leaving the part out where I apologized to JR and put him over to the moon. They completely purposely left that out, and I will address that with Conrad on Thursday. That was BS, bro. That was dirty. That was really, really dirty. Anybody again, bro, 15 years ago, anybody again knows since then, I have apologized to Jim Ross. We have talked personally on the phone. I have been on Jim Ross's show a couple of times. Dixie Carter wanted to bring Jim Ross into TNA, and I was the one on the phone with Jim Ross trying to talk him into TNA. And I still feel, bro, if Jim Ross was brought into TNA at the time we were talking to him, it would be a totally different company today. So again, bro, I didn't write this yesterday. I wrote this 15 freaking years ago.
They talked about your part in the book where you eventually ended up leaving, going to WCW, and they brought up the meeting that you had with Vince McMahon, and you talk about breaking down and crying in front of him, and Bruce said, oh, so Vince Russo cries in meetings, just implying the Bischoff story.
Yeah, right. Meanwhile, bro, I'll admit to crying in Vince McMahon's office, but I won't admit that, I cried in a TNA meeting. So, I mean, that debunks that right there. I have no problem. Bro, I don't even want to get into that. I have no problem. And I've said it. Yes, I went into Vince's office and I freaking broke down. Eric Bischoff's story is 100% bullshit. That's why he says it behind my back and not to my face. So go on with that, bro.
So Conrad had asked him, and you talked about how SmackDown was being brought on the table. No financial raise for you or anything. It was going to be the same, same pay, a whole nother show. Conrad asked Bruce if he thought you should have got paid more to write SmackDown. And Bruce said, no, they're doing the same thing. They're writing the same amount.
How are we writing the same amount when we're writing a whole other show? How do we go from how is writing 2 hours of TV to writing 4 hours of TV the same amount? How is that the same amount, bro? We were providing Vince McMahon with a whole new product, and he was making money on that product as a second show. That's just a stupid comment, bro. I mean, that's just an ignorant comment.
Bruce said, Russo always says he improved ratings, but when you go back and look at them, a lot of that's not true.
What's not true? Go back and look at them. I don't even understand that, bro. The ratings are there. Anybody can look at when I started, when Ed came, when Bruce was writing, when me and Ed left. They're all there, bro. They're all documented. You know, again, bro, that's just Bruce saying that. So now the person who listens to it, who's a fan of their show, says, well, Russo says he increased ratings, but that's really not true. That's all that is, bro. That's how shit like that happens. I don't make blanket statements unless I'm going to add facts to those statements. That, again, bro, is a freaking blanket statement.
Conrad had asked him if anything changed with the writing after you left. And Bruce said, Vince McMahon made sure to add more writers so just one person couldn't walk out on him and leave him high and dry again.
Yeah, of course, bro. Yeah, I left him high and dry, bro, because the guy told me to hire a nanny to watch my kids. So at that point, he could have kissed my ass. So yeah, I left him high and dry. And guess what, bro? Because he didn't treat me like a human being and because he didn't give a crap about my family, he deserved to be left high and dry. So yeah, bro, he's 100% correct on that.
Do you feel like with all the people that left the WWF to go to WCW back then, I mean, the go through the list of names, almost everybody, why is it always you walked out, you left them high and dry? You know what I mean? You
want to know why?
Yeah.
Because they never recovered from it, Jeff. That's why. They never recovered. Bro, you got to understand, when a talent leaves, that's one talent. That one talent eventually is going to be replaced. When the writing team leaves, bro, you can hire 20, 30, 40, 50 writers. They've not had the same success since we left. And again, bro, that's not a blanket statement. The numbers are there for you to go look up.
He also said that when you went back in 2002, that the story you tell about everybody bearing you wasn't true. He said they all wanted to work with you. They all wanted to give you a chance. That took pressure off of them. The reason you didn't go back was Vince McMahon was upset that you didn't research the product. You didn't know that Jericho and Triple H had wrestled in the main event.
Stop. This is, again, Bruce. First of all, Bruce was not in that meeting with the writers. Bruce was not in my personal meetings with Vince McMahon. He was not present for any of that. Jeff, as I already stated, I met with Vince McMahon for a couple of days where all we discussed was creative. Vince McMahon gave me the job. We agreed on a money figure. Once all that was said, I said to him, Vince, how are we going to do that? And he said, just show up at King of the Ring. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And that's when I met with the writers the right way. Vince had already hired me, bro, after we went through the creative. So Bruce is totally out of school. He was not in my one-on-one meetings with Vince McMahon, and he was not in that room with the writers when that meeting took place. And bro, listen, at the end of the day, how many times have I said this? Part of the reason why I think it didn't work out was because I think, hindsight being 2020, I think Vince McMahon himself thought it was a ridiculous notion that I would be working under and reporting to Stephanie McMahon when I had all this experience writing and she had zero. Now, Jeff, do you think Vince McMahon is going to publicly say that?
I don't know if he publicly really says anything.
Yeah, of course, he's not going to say that. So of course he has to think of a reason. Well, this is why it didn't work out, and I get that, bro. I've said many times, Vince McMahon's never going to throw his daughter under the freaking bus. I've said that a million times, so I can see Vince saying something to why it didn't work out. But again, bro, I was already hired for the freaking job. Bruce was not a part of any of those meetings.
And lastly, he said, I think that Russo's delusional.
Yeah, well, whatever, bro. Yeah, I'm delusional, Bruce. You know, how a delusional person, bro, with the rich freaking history of the WWE, how a delusional person can be behind the pen that wrote the highest ratings ever in the history of the company. And not just me and Ed Ferrara. It started with me, then it was me and Ed Ferrara. We were delusional, bro, and we wrote ratings that nobody came close to. I was delusional, Bruce, and TNA was at 2 million viewers, and now with you working for them, they're at 250,000. And I'm the delusional one. And you know what, bro? Did you notice throughout this entire interview, I did not discredit Bruce Prichard one time. You know why, bro? Let me tell you why, Jeff. Because I'm confident in my own ability. I know what I did. I know at that time, in that position, under those circumstances, I know how good I was. I know how hard I worked. I know how much Vince McMahon depended on me. And bro, I'm not going to sit here and tear Bruce Prichard down to build Vince Russo up. There's no need for that, bro. I'll say what I say in every single cross-examination like this. My numbers speak for themselves. Look at Bruce's numbers in WWF Creative, and then look at my numbers. The numbers speak for themselves. So that's why, Bruce, I give you all the credit in the world. DX, the Kane character, you are a great producer. You're a great storyteller. You got a great freaking podcast, bro. I'll put you over to the freaking moon. If you feel you have to discredit me, bro, knock yourself out, Bruce, because at the end of the day, it's not going to change history. And as I said, Jeff, I wanted to address this early on because, you know, our listeners have the right to know. Or if our listeners heard that show, now they get, you know, they get my point of view, but I invited both of those guys on my show. Conrad's accepted. He's supposedly coming on Thursday. Bruce has not answered me back. And like I said, Bruce, I really hope you don't take the route of Cornette and Bischoff because, bro, I have absolutely nothing to hide. I swear to God, Jeff, bro, you know what? Yeah, eventually, Jeff, you know what I'm going to have to do one of these days? Let me tell you what I'm going to have to do one of these days. I'm going to have to hire a company with the lie detector test, bro. And I'm going to have them come into my house and freaking wire me up and put me on one of these shows. But Jeff, you know why I don't do that? Because even though I'll pass it with flying colors, what will people say? They're not 100% accurate. That's why you can't use them in the court of law. So why would I even freaking bother doing that?
Let me ask you this question before you conclude, because based on what Bruce said and based on things you've said, I see tying both together. It seems like you guys were really close once. You were really good friends, and I know you've talked about working in TNA and stuff and with him. Is that fair to say that you guys were really good friends at one point?
Jeff, see, a lot of people don't know, bro. Bruce had my family at his house. I spent many days at Bruce's house. Me and my wife, Amy, went out with Bruce and his great white Stephanie for one of her birthdays. We went into Manhattan and saw the play Grease. But I will say this, bro, And I don't want to get into personal stuff. But with everything you just said, I got Bruce's job at TNA when he needed a job. I wanted to return the favor to Bruce, for things that he did to me. So I got him his job at TNA, which of course I don't regret. I'm happy that I could help him out. But bro, I got to tell you, and I don't want to get into this stuff because to me it's personal and I don't want to cross that line. But there was a time, bro, when I'm talking about professionally. There was a time when I was below Bruce Prichard. And then there was a time when I was above Bruce Prichard. And we had two completely different relationships during each time. When I was below him, it was one way. When I was now writing television and being successful, it was very, very, very different. I don't want to get into specifics because I think it's personal. But yes, bro, we spent a lot of time together. He had my family over. He had my kids over. We went out with him and his wife to dinner. We had a very close, but again, let me just say that all of that was before I became head writer of the show. That was all before I became head writer of the show. And bro, Bruce was very instrumental. Bro, at the beginning, when I was just doing the magazine, this is where I give Bruce a credit. This is why I wanted to help him out at TNA. Bruce was instrumental of getting me more involved with TV. Like he would, I remember him, going to the graveyard with Taker and Paul Bearer and stuff and bringing me along. So Bruce, and I'm very thankful for that, bro. Very thankful that he started introducing me to TV. Bill Watts officially brought me into TV. When Bill Watts got hired, Bill Watts said to me officially, do you want to be part of do you want to sit in on the creative meetings? He never said, do you want to be part of the creative team? He said, do you want to sit in on the creative? So Bill Watts made it official. But prior to that, bro, Bruce was bringing me along to things that were outside of the magazine. Then when Watts came in and he was fired, Bruce taught me a lot. He mentored me. I was under his wing for a while. Very, 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 very grateful for that time. That's why when I had the opportunity at TNA to help him out, I went to Dixie and I said, Dixie, you got to hire this guy. This guy is great. This guy is tremendous. So yeah, bro, there's a whole personal history, backstory that nobody knows anything about.
Yeah, because I was just curious, and you may not want to answer this, but it's just, I don't know if this is the wrestling business or what. It's just always strange anywhere in life when two people who are really close end up like this. You know what I mean?
Bro, can I tell you something, Jeff? I don't think we're ended up anyway. I really don't. I don't think once Bruce, he never read my book. He said he never read my book in the interview. So he was hit with a lot of these things for the first time. Now, like I said, Jeff, this was 17 years ago. Okay, bro, Bruce being in the wrestling business, being one of the boys, bro, there was a lot of substance abuse. There was a lot of alcohol over that time. Okay, so, bro, there's a chance, bro. There's a chance that you just may be sketchy on a few things. And I understand that and I get that. But I kind of agree with you, Jeff. I think Bruce hearing this for the first time, I think it probably hurt him more than get him mad. But it shouldn't have hurt him, bro. I was telling my truth and I was telling my story and the way I saw things 17 years ago. Obviously, bro, through all that, I considered Bruce a friend. If I didn't like Bruce, I would have never got him hired at TNA, bro. But through everything I said and through the ups and downs, I always liked Bruce. I always considered Bruce a friend. That's why I got Bruce's job at TNA. So I would be shocked, bro, if from here going forward, there's now a wall between me and Bruce, because I'll tell you right now, there's no wall on my part. There's absolutely no, I'm not mad at him. I don't have any animosity to him. Now, I'm going to tell you this, bro. If he doesn't appear on my show, then I feel he's going to build that wall. But because I do consider him a friend, because I have nothing to hide, because I will swear on my children that every word in my book was true, I have no problem in having this discussion with him. If he has a problem having the discussion with me, then there's some kind of problem on his side. But when you say, you got, I you guys, it ends like this. I don't think it's ending like this, bro. Bro, if I ran into Bruce on the street tomorrow, this show they had on Friday, it doesn't affect me one way or another. I would, hug him, kiss him, ask him how the wife and kids are. I don't have any zero ill will feelings towards Bruce Prichard at all. Now, bro, Cornette and Bischoff, that's a total different story. Those guys are just freaking vicious. Those guys are just ugly, bro. Those guys are just out for freaking blood. That's not who Bruce Prichard is. I know Bruce. That's why there's no issue, on my side.
Fair enough. Any final thoughts on any of this?
No, that's it. And like I said, bro, they've been invited on the show. I hope Conrad comes on Thursday, like you said. I hope Bruce comes on, because everything I've said right here, bro, I will say directly to him. Bruce has been on my show. Obviously, bro, if I had anything to hide, why would I have even brought Bruce on my show? Like that just doesn't make any freaking sense. So that's why I really, really, really hope he doesn't go down the Bischoff, Cornette road, and he can come on the show and we can have a conversation. That's what I'm hoping for.
Sounds good, man.
And that is it, everybody. I hope you got some enlightenment on this video. And like I said, man, I'm not here to convince anybody. If you still want to believe, despite everything I said, if you still want to believe I take credit for everything and I don't give credit to anybody else, bro, freaking believe it. Because at the end of the day, I honestly feel I give more credit than anybody in the wrestling business, bro. Anybody in the wrestling business. And I've put people over to nauseum. But if it's part of the gimmick that Vince Russo takes all the credit for the Attitude Era, bro, knock yourself out, bro. Be a sheep. Follow the leader. That's it.
That's it.
So enjoy the video on YouTube. Remember to check us out on Podcast One. That also is free. We have a show Monday through Friday, every day of the week. You could see that show on video on the Realm Network a day earlier for only $2.95 a month. That's 15 cents a show, 75 cents a week. To see the show on video that's unfiltered, uncensored, material that isn't on Podcast One, you can go to the Realm Network, RELMnetwork.com, or russosbrand.com. You can follow me on Twitter. My address is @TheVinceRusso. You can follow Jeff Lane @JeffLane22. Anything you'd like to add, Jeff?
Nope. Just russosbrand.com. If you're looking for any Vince Russo content, that's the place to go. You'll find everything there in one spot, russosbrand.com.
All right, there it is, everybody. Thanks for listening. We will see you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.